what's up? It's Lit Book Reviews, back in your life. I'm Max Verstappen. As always, Lewis Hamilton is with me, and we are here to do yet another. Today we have got the Founders Trilogy #2, Shorefall by Robert Jackson Bennett. We have read the first one and have reviewed it on said channel, so if you haven't seen that one and you're interested, check it out. So today we are talking about Book 2. Let's dive right in, Andrew. What did you give this one out of 5, my boy? It's got let me say this first. It's got almost 18,000 ratings with a 4.06 average rating out of 5 stars. What did you give it, brother?
I think I gave this book a 3. I'm pretty sure.
Not great. Not great.
I think even on my hard rating, I think I gave it like a 3.0.
So not the best. I gave it a 4, but it would be a very, very low 4. It would not be an 8 out of 10. It may be more fair to give it a 3, honestly, but I gave it a 4 because, well, let's just get into it. I mean, if you haven't read the first one, you're not going to know what's going on, so this probably isn't for you at all. But just non-spoiler, the book definitely does not start off strong. I think we both struggled through. I mean, would you at least say it gets a little better as it goes, or is it just a straight line, not very enjoyable?
Yeah, it gets better for sure. Definitely, the second half of the book is definitely better. I know you said it too to me about like the last 100 pages. Like a lot definitely happened. So
yeah,
it's just I think it's more just with what's the main character's name?
Sansa.
Yeah. I hate to say it, but I feel like she gets a lot of page time, and then it kind of kills it for me. She's not as interesting. Like, I liked her a lot in the first book,
she's
but
not as interesting in this one for some reason. I would agree.
She's more dramatic, which like doesn't make sense because she's older and she's like progressing. Whoa, wait, sorry. Almost kind of said
you about to hit a spoiler? But, gotcha. Yeah. It just it starts out kind of. It's just not super. I don't know what it is, man. Because the writing I felt was still really good, but the plot was not super. It was not as engaging for me as the first one. But then again,
I feel like you rushed it.
That, and it was just, I don't know. Just some specific things kind of lost an allure for me throughout the first like half of the book. But again, the last 100 pages really opened up, and I thought it was great. That's what gave it a 4. It was a 3, like in my mind, through the halfway point. But then the second half, and especially the last quarter of it, made it a 4 because I thought the last act was really entertaining. So, but again, it was not as good as the first one. I'd still, if you've read the first one, I'd still recommend reading it just because I'm all about finding out what's going on. I don't know if you'd feel the same, but it wasn't terrible. It's not the worst thing we've read this year. That still is most definitely held by the 5th season, but it's probably, because we've read some bangers so far, so it's probably second on that list of least to best, I would say.
Yeah. I think the first book being good, like really good, like makes this book worse for me. Like I'm holding this book to a higher standard than 5th season. So
yeah,
that's
true.
like, I'm just more disappointed in this book. I never had high hopes for 5th season, so like it never really let me down. But because I really liked the first book, I mean, I think in my review for the first book, like that I put on Goodreads, I was talking about how it's like one of my favorite like starts to a series that I've read in a while. Like I know we've read some good ones too, but anyway. Whereas I don't know. I mean, like I said, 5th season, I was never interested. So this is just more. It cuts a little deeper, man. Because to me, I had hope. Yeah. You know what they say about hope, dude. That hope, dude. It'll get you every time.
It'll crush you every time. Yeah, it yeah, so would you, so if you're talking to someone who's read the first one and not this one, would you tell them to read it? Out of just based on what happens and what may happen in the future, could you even recommend it? Because I feel like I would, but I would just kind of say, look, you're probably not going to be as satisfied as the first one, but I would still recommend it.
Yeah. I mean, if you like the first one a lot, I mean, because someone else may like it, and I just personally didn't like where the plot went. Like you said, I didn't think it was anything with the writing. It was where the plot and the characters are at. Like, I just didn't, it wasn't interesting to me. and it sucks because the way the first book ends is it ends like on where there's like 4 different things where I'm like, dude, I can't wait to like learn more about this. And then when I actually do learn more about it, I was just like, oh, that's it. Which, I mean, I know there's a lot left to mystery. Like, I feel like maybe not a ton was actually really answered. Maybe that's part of it too. But I don't know, dude. I don't like where Gregor's character goes. Where I was really excited for his character.
The 4 main characters go.
I don't care about any of them now, dude, and it sucks because I really liked the crew. And I want to say at first I really thought like the little love thing between Sansia and Bernice was like I was kind of cool with it. And then I don't know, dude, it almost became cringe to me. Like it was just very
it wasn't great.
He didn't write that very well. So I don't know if that's what made it like I just don't really want to, because they just like each other, but I don't really know why. I don't know. And like the main thing that happens at the end, I just didn't like for how they kind of overcome it all. I was like, that's it. That's what we're doing. It just was, I don't know. I just, there was so much potential for me. And maybe he does fix it in the third one. I don't know. Maybe this is just the ultimate setup. Whereas I will say in the first book, there was something that like, there's a storyline that happens that I'm like, oh, this is so predictable. Like, oh, this is easy. And then he gets me and he got me. And so, like, that's what I thought was going to happen in this book, where it's like, in the first book.
Well, I'm curious when we get to spoilers. I'm curious to know what you're referring to.
Oh yeah. Well, we talked about it in our first like video, in the spoilers. But anyway, there was some plot stuff that he did that was a twist, where I thought there was a character that you think is the villain, who's like a very weak character, and I'm like, dude, this is a horrible character that he wrote, and then you realize, oh wait, he was setting us up. That's not the real villain. Kind of or antagonist for book 1. And so I was kind of hoping there was some like cloak and dagger in this one. And I don't know. I really didn't. And I don't know. And like it sucks too, because the idea of the guy on the front, I should, let's see. Crazy's, I kind of like the image that I got of him was kind of sick. Like I kind of liked the way that he was pictured, or like, that he describes him as.
He's the high point of the book for me. I
agree.
Antagonist throughout the story is the high point, which that might be a spoiler. I don't know. I mean,
I think I might.
You shouldn't be watching this if you haven't read the first one, though. So I mean, that's on you, honestly. So yeah, I would. That was the high point for sure. Which is nice because a lot of times I feel like a story can be really great. This happens a lot with like movies, I think too. Is you have really strong protagonist side of things like on the plot, but then the villain's just weak and like not scary, like doesn't feel that bad. So I thought this was a really good villain for this book. And the way it pans out in the end kind of does shake everything up to a degree. So I would say there is kind of a cloak and dagger, if you will, but it's at the end. So you don't get a lot from it. But I'd still recommend this. So I mean, non-spoiler. I mean, the writing's still good. I think Robert Jackson Bennett's a great writer. This is the second we've read from him. Obviously, we just were told by a friend of ours that his newest book, The Tainted Cup, is really, really good. So I still have faith in him as a writer, even though this one was less satisfying than the first one. And I'm definitely going to read the third one, but I can't say that it's number one on the priority list. But it'll definitely happen. So. That's our non-spoiler thoughts. You want to just dive into what actually went down here, brother?
Let's do it.
Cool. So spoilers ahead. If you haven't read it, I mean, I really don't know why you're watching this anyway, but definitely stop now. So Shorefall, Robert Jackson Bennett, spoilers ahead. I mean, so just to skip straight to the thing that we're talking about, Crazy Seeds was really cool. But then there's like an added development to him in the end where essentially what I'm getting from it is that Clef is actually Crazy's dad, right? Did you get that? Was that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's what happened,
that
right?
Is what it
okay.
Is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that did nothing for me though, because like, the only reason it didn't do anything for me because I still don't really know who the bad guy is. I guess like this is like one of those things now where it's like, is it Cray Seeds or whatever. I mean, whatever the guy's name is, or is it the
Valyria.
girl Valeria?
Yeah.
But like they're both like
Or
I
is it
guess to
Clef,
me,
Who knows?
yeah, and it's also gray, but it's not really a gray book. So that's where I have the issue of like who's the villain? Like what are we doing here? Because it's
Yeah.
not like to me a Joe Abercrombie or a John Gwynn world where it's just morally gray characters trying to figure it all out.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like
I
there's
feel
a good
like
side and a
it's
bad side. So it's like, who's the actual bad side here? And that's where it's hard to know
so
who
to
am I
me
cheering for
it's
now.
yeah, to me I feel like there's one good side and two bad sides, and all three are against each other. Because I feel like both Crayseeds and Valyria, like their plans are bad. Obviously, they're not, what the protagonists want to happen. So to me, that's cool, but I do think there needs to be some sort of established, because you're essentially, it's two gods that are both the bad guys, and then normal people that have like low key powers. But
Yeah.
so something definitely has to progress with that. I feel like, I mean, who knows what'll happen, but I feel like Valyria is going to end up being like the bad guy, and Crayseeds and Clef will team up maybe. But I actually kind of like the idea that you have two bad guys that have opposing views, and they're kind of duking it out, and your protagonist is sort of just caught in the middle, trying to survive and figure it out. I don't mind it, but again, it was only the last like 100 pages where I really got into that. Leading up, the first half, especially, like, just, I mean, it was a grind, dude. Neither one of us were having the greatest time reading that book at first. And then I ended
Well,
up zooming. I read the last 180 pages in one sitting.
the whole like combining of the minds thing was just, I
Yeah,
found that so uninteresting.
that was the thing you
And
really
that
didn't
was like
like,
the
right?
main catch, I feel like,
Right.
of
Yeah.
like, how are we going to defeat this? Oh, we're all just going to eat this little plate and become one. And there's really no repercussions
Yeah.
for doing that. Like somehow they're all just like cool and about it. Like there's no like, I mean, he
Yeah,
could have
that
just
did
done
feel a
so
little
much
too
with that.
easy.
It was,
Yeah.
and there was no like, oh, now you're finding this out about me that like I've done wrong to you maybe in the
Right.
past.
Yeah,
Like
there was
there
none of
could have been
that. Like,
something
yeah.
to where, yeah, it could have
Like, there
just
should have
added
been
so
some
many other
dark
layers.
secret that came out, like, from some
Yeah, and
character,
it's like,
and that
oh,
becomes a
but this is the only way
development.
we can save him. So like, I'm going to sacrifice our friendship now, and then I mean, you know what
Right.
I mean. And now there's another side that could have been grown from it. But yeah, I mean, it was just. I mean, I know I guess they don't really accomplish what they need to accomplish, so it's not like I guess it is that easy because everyone's basically still alive somehow. Maybe Orcio or whatever's not, but we didn't get any like finality. I mean, maybe he's not. I don't know. It's
I feel
just
like
I,
he's
I
dead.
don't know. I mean,
And
he
that part
probably
did
is.
get me. I'm not going to lie. That scene did get me when he, like, tells Berenice, like, you will do great things, or whatever he says to her, and then he goes and does his thing.
The only reason I didn't like that is because I liked that part, but it felt like a cheap way to like be like, all right, yeah, I ended this book well by like just like obviously
Mm-hmm.
throwing out a character that everyone likes who's just going to sacrifice himself, and it's like, dude,
Yeah.
I like Orcio too much. Like yeah, because it hurts. Like it's like, but it almost feels cheap that like you're picking the one character. Well, I mean, I guess I don't know. Like
Well, then
there's
what
some
he
other
does to
characters that would
Gregor,
hit
dude,
you,
you
but
take Orso and essentially kill him, and then you take Gregor and do another combining of characters, and now he's like, it's Valyria / Gregor. That was my least favorite thing. That was I
yeah.
saw it coming from a mile away. Once Valyria said to him, if we bonded, we wouldn't be able to unbond. I knew, I was like, okay, so that's for sure what's happening. Like, he's
Well,
laying the
and not only
groundwork,
does he
and I
become
did not
Valeria,
like
he
it.
becomes the city. It's like, all right, dude, this
Yeah,
is this
he's
is where
Tavane now.
this was God
Tavania,
Emperor of
whatever it
Dune
is.
for me. It was like, all
Mm.
right, what are we doing? Like, okay, it's like so like high level almost that it's like, all right, you lost me now. Like, okay,
Yeah.
Worm God just isn't my thing. Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
And
Worm
that's
God,
like that level.
Person City is, yeah, it's not for me either. That was my least favorite part of like the culmination of this book was that. So yeah, I agree
I
with
didn't
you
like
there. That just
Gregor's
was not.
development either, bro. And he was one of my favorites from book one, and I really thought I was gonna like because it's just that's my problem with this book is there's so many things where it's like at front it's like okay this is gonna be great, and then it was just not great, and that's what's so it's like how do
Yeah.
you to me I don't understand how he fumbled so many good ideas because he had the ideas and like got them to a certain
Yeah.
extent, and then it's like he just, I don't know,
Well,
like
again,
he
I
could
think
have
it's
like
all
slam dunked it
due.
and he
I
just
think,
barely lays the ball in. I don't know.
and I think most of these problems do suffer from something you said earlier, which I still like Sansi. I liked a lot of her moments, but there was way too much page time for her for the role that other players ended up playing. Like there should have been more Gregor POV to, but at the same time, I get why he does it. He's trying to like drip feed you the world building and what happened to Gregor and his connection with Cray Seeds and like any visions that they have when they go under or whatever. He can only drip feed that a little bit. That's what I was telling you when we first finished this on the phone. Is I feel like in the third book, there's going to be some major bombs dropped as far as the world building. I feel like he's just given us a little bit, like the stuff with the sand and, you know, whether or not Clef is Crayseed's daddy or whatever is going on. But I do think this one suffered a little bit from that. I think that, again, first half was just kind of drawn out. And when you get into the, like, I like the magic system with describing. I think it's cool, but you have to keep it at bay. Like you cannot go into these deep diatribes about what's being yelled and who's thinking what and how exactly this works,
Yeah,
because you just start to lose me with the. And
it
maybe
got
I'm just not
lame
a
quick,
huge hard
dude.
magic
Sadly,
fan. Yeah, just describing. Well, it got to where he wasn't really diving into it enough. It's like you're taking bigger steps with the magic, but getting less explanation. You're just supposed to kind of infer. And I feel like that works maybe in some situations or even for some people in this situation. But for me, I was like, dude, you're kind of losing me because I feel like you're not able to explain this. So you're just not explaining it. And something's just happening. Like when they explained the her listening in on the scriving of Gregor coming back to life, I was like, what is going on, dude? I was just like, I'm just reading words and I know at the end of it that Gregor's alive and they figured out how. I don't get
yeah,
how at all. It just didn't make a lot of so it definitely did suffer in that way for me. But again, the high point was Crazy, dude. Crazy's like moving around and using his magic and clicking Clef and there's a crack in the sky and then he teleports somewhere. I thought that
yeah. I
was
like
done well.
that.
It was really cool, like imagery of Crazy's when he's fighting Valyria later. Like I thought that was sick. So that was again the high
Yeah,
point for me.
I agree. I don't know. In a weird way, this like world feels so small. Like it's like
It
so
does,
the
dude. I'm
impact
so
just
glad you
doesn't
said that. Yeah. It's like
like it
this
just
one
doesn't
city.
feel like it matters. Like I don't know. Like it
Yeah.
feels like oh like these huge decisions need to be are being made that millions will die. They're talking about if so, you know if Valeria turns
Well,
off all scribing, and it's like, but where?
right.
Where are these millions? Where are they? Like I
Well, and
don't.
then you that that girl, that character that comes in and is trying to save like
Yeah, like
refugees and
yeah,
slaves, you get her and you find out that she's basically saying we just need to get out of here before this stuff goes down and we can just like go like, you know, across the sea or across the channel, wherever they're going. It's not explained, and it kind of makes it feel less consequential. You're like, oh, they can just get on a boat and this isn't a problem. And who knows, maybe that's not the case. Maybe the whole world is affected, but we don't know anything about the outside world. We just have this one city. So yeah, it does feel small. Hopefully that'll open up in the third book again. I hope the third book just kind of busts everything wide open and it gets way bigger. I feel like there's potential for that, but you know, it's remains to be seen if that actually is what happens.
yeah. It's just sad, dude. Because I don't even know if I could talk for 30 minutes about this book. It's like,
Yeah, I mean, there's
you know,
just yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like other stuff that happened, but some of it just, I mean, dude, so much of it was like technical, hard scribing magic stuff. So much of it, dude. And
yeah.
I don't know, man. It gets cumbersome for me.
Dude,
And
I
then,
didn't. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think I liked the way Clef came back either. Like it just felt.
oh, yeah. And then he just
It
comes back and
almost
he's
felt
like,
like what you're
yeah,
talking about when you don't like when people die and then they're actually not dead. Like that's.
yeah.
It was one of those. I don't know. And then he's like trying to be that like comedic relief, but it just didn't
Hmm.
land as well. Like in the first book, it landed very well for me, and then in this
Yeah.
book, I don't know why it just didn't. I didn't. I
Well,
wasn't
again,
looking
dude.
forward to it for some reason.
Yeah.
Yet when
And
she was
again,
just
bro,
holding the key, like in the beginning, I was like, "Oh, that's sad." Like I was connecting with
yeah.
like the
And then when he
memory
comes
of it,
back,
but
it
then when he
just doesn't
actually
feel as
happens, I'm
good.
like, oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
didn't
know
get interesting again until Cray Seeds took him, and then you're like, oh no,
exactly.
what's gonna happen?
Yeah,
I feel like again, dude, anytime, and I know in fantasy it's gonna happen, and sometimes it's cool and it's great, but when you bring something back from, you bring a character back to life, it has to be done in a certain way, or it just cheapens everything that happened, and it just lowers the stakes, man. Because now, like, I mean, anybody can come back to life after what they did.
oh
They can
yeah.
bring, an ancient god back to life in the form of an inanimate object. I'm sure they can bring anybody else back to life if they need to. So, yeah, it's just you can't bring characters back to life, man. You just can't do it. And if you do, you
Between
have to
that,
write it in a way to where it cannot happen again somehow or something.
yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like we didn't get enough answers either about like Crazies or whatever his name is. Like I just like him being able to just unravel his face and everyone dies and like knowing that I guess
Yeah,
there's that one little piece of bone, but like
he
there's
must
still
be
like so
hella
much
ugly.
mystery around it. Yeah. It's like what is it? And how can it be defeated? Because I don't know. It's
Yeah,
just how can anyone be defeated in this world? I don't understand. I guess that's too where I'm losing it. It's like it feels like I mean Gregor can come back to life whenever. Then he ends up just
yeah,
it's just who is actually gonna die in this world? I
yeah.
mean, because maybe Orcio or whatever his name is dead, but we still don't even know.
Or
Like, I
so.
mean,
Yeah.
and maybe Orso, yeah, maybe he is dead. I don't know. And I guess Gregor is technically dead because he's been
Yeah,
merged.
which
But
is a bummer. Like, are we ever going to see that character again? Like actual Gregor? I feel like no is the answer. Maybe
and
not,
if we
but
do, it's not going to make sense. Like, if we somehow do,
yeah,
I'm like, I'm
it's
going to
gonna
be
be
like,
some
how?
scribing bullshit.
It's like I
Just gonna be
don't.
like, oh, the scribe started yelling. It filled Sansia's ears, and she couldn't think. But
And
Berenice was
Santia
tapped into her
convinced
mind, so
it.
she remembered it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just it sounds like
the
again, I gave this book
mind.
before. It was still super fun, but there are a lot of things that just were not great.
We're
I say a
also in a
lot, a
slump, dude.
handful.
I will say we need to put the
Yeah,
context.
we are,
So
man. If we
we're
had,
kind of in a
yeah, we
slump.
do. We are. We're having trouble getting through some of these, and I think we know why, and it's for the sake of the booming channel that we're running here. I think it'll
Mhm.
be worth it, but we are, we're putting ourselves through the meat grinder and diving into lots of things. So yeah, maybe if we had read this at a different time in a different state, we would have enjoyed it more. So that's always going to be a factor, though.
Yeah.
But I
I
still
mean, it
enjoyed the
was,
James Madison biography more than this. So, and
dude,
that
for
one was a
sure.
bit dense at times.
For sure. I'm almost done with that. I actually really liked that book, but
Yeah,
anyway.
it's yeah. We'll talk about it when the time comes, but yeah. So not much more to say. Again, overall, I still have a lot of faith in RJB as a writer. I think I would still read any of his stuff. I'm definitely going to finish this, but definitely the second best of the two books I've read by him so far, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. For
And I think
sure.
that's it. You got
Quick
anything
20.
else on this one?
I got literally nothing.
We got nothing for you. All right, you guys will never see us again. Peace.
Mm.